Hello and welcome to the Scientist Sage Sangha. My name is Nancy Anderson Dolan and I'm with Wise Heart Wellness. And we gather every Tuesday evening at about 6 o'clock Mountain Time to talk about a single word representing a certain idea that we can explore to see how we might develop ourselves or investigate ourselves is a better word, I think. So tonight, the word is desire. And this is an interesting, very interesting word. Lots of interesting, different ideas about it. And so I will say right up front, I'm not saying that what I'm going to talk about is going to be the be all and end all perfect definition, because, like I say, there's lots of different opinions about it. But it might give you some ideas about how you want to perceive it and how you can work with it. So, literally, the word desire is there's a lot of research on it. There's been so much writing about it from the time of when people first started writing words and what the definition would be or what the purpose is and everything. But it comes down to desire is actually a fundamental driver of our lives. There's no way around that. If we get home and we want some particular food, we make that food. It takes you to the next action. And if we have a desire to, move out to the country, we go look for a house in the country. And so it actually really drives how we live and what we go towards. And the difference is, though, how well we know our desires. If we are friends with them or if we fight them, and if we fight them often, it drains a lot of energy and we end up not having what we want and not wanting what we have and leaves us in a bad limbo. And it's not unusual for people to be in that space or a desire that we go out and we get, but then we find out it's not quite what we wanted actually. So we thought that's what would bring us to, satisfaction from this desire. But often it could be like one of the things that lots of people talk about is, desire to be in a relationship. And so they move forward in that way. And the relationships don't necessarily turn out the way they think they will. And there's an idea about it that we create in our mind. And it doesn't matter whether it's a new pair of shoes or a relationship or having a baby or, moving to the country. We have ideas about what it will be like to have this desire fulfilled. But we really don't know what it would be like. And so when we go along and we have it, if we are not staying conscious of it, we can actually be in a lot of distress. And we can get resentful because it's not what we thought it would be. And we can get hardened to life just because we don't think we got what we wanted. Although we got what we wanted at the time, what we thought we wanted. So that's how confusing it is. But when I talk about desire with people, I really talk about it as an inspirational kind of urge that they feel. Just one moment here. I need to take care of a little puppy that desires my attention and is not going to be quiet. So we're going to take care of that and be right back. Sorry for that slight interruption. She had some pretty strong desires, that little ball of fur, but we got her sorted out. So this idea about having a desire be an inspirational urge from somewhere deeper is a whole different thing that happens. When people think about desire, sometimes they think about the sort of negative perception of desire. There's lots of religions and all sorts of, government kinds of things, all sorts of things that like, no, this isn't okay, whatever it is. And it's grown up around us to, we can even feel ashamed of whatever our desires are, because a lot of spiritual, religious kinds of communities are like, you shouldn't want everything. That's lust for money or lust for people or, that kind of thing. And so we can get really confused about our own desires. And if we can pay attention, though, that I don't have to feel bad about it. I can just have desire. And I might, sit with it a little longer to see it, is it one of these, inspirational urges kind of desire? Or is it just this fleeting want, need, whatever, dressed up as a desire? And as I go through that, I can find out what is real for me, what I really, truly, deeply want. And if I pay attention to my desires, my desiring, then I can leave things be when I no longer desire them. So a baby, when they come into the world, they have very clear, not a wide range of desires, but very clear about it. They scream if they're uncomfortable, if they're hungry. They desire food right now. They desire close contact. They want someone to pick them up, things like that. And they don't want that forever. They keep trying to stand up. They try to walk. That's the next desire. And it goes on from there. But as it goes on, it gets a little more confusing because then we move into things like, I want to have a friend and I want to dress like this and I want to eat that. And if you've ever been around younger children and seen them throw a tantrum, that's, we can be like that too when we don't get what we want. But there's that strong feeling they're just learning to navigate their desires, and they learn that they don't necessarily get them all the time. And they learn that they can often move towards them in a slower pace, not the immediate delivery. Even though after the pandemic, with all the food delivery services, they do deliver almost anything really quickly. So it's even more important to be clear about what your real desires are. There's this natural inside experience that happens that if it got to unfold, we would be able to move through that. In some places, they send people off by themselves, and they sit with themselves and find out what their true desire is. What do they want to really do? What do they want to be like in the world? But we don't have a lot of that anymore. And we're not really given any information about how to sort out our desires. We're fed a whole bunch of media and we look around and see what people around us do. And there's a whole lot of research on this too. Lots of philosophers talked about it, all those things, but it doesn't really say, here's an okay desire and that desire is not okay. And, except in their particular opinion. But it doesn't give us the tools to figure that out for ourselves. So if we can explore it a little differently, it can be really, really useful. And one of the first things that I always talk to people about, and that I fall prey to myself if I'm thinking about, oh, I shouldn't really want that, I should do this other thing. I will take the time and say, but wait a minute, what's going on here? Can I open up to this desire maybe being a good thing for me? Can I open up to the idea that this is just something I want? Is it not, is it really that guided kind of deeper desire? Or is it just something I want at the moment? And I find when I start to explore that way, that people are really able to go, oh, you know what? I wanted that because my sister got it earlier in their life. And I just want it, but I don't really want it. In fact, I don't really know what I want. And as people spend time doing a little bit of looking into their desires, they get clearer and clearer. And once we know our desire, it doesn't mean that we run out really fast and just grab it and only focus on that. Because that kind of energy doesn't always serve us well. It's almost a desperate energy. And so we don't want to bring that desperation into desiring. We want to be comfortable with it, enjoy the process of it. When people have that experience, they really find out that, yeah, this is something I really desire. It's worth putting time and resources toward and having patience with. I don't have to have it right now. I might even want it right now, but I'm okay in the process of it. If I go, well, if I can't have it right now, I don't want it all. It's probably not one of those deeper desires. So these are good tests, litmus tests about it. And the idea, those divinely inner driven desires don't diminish with examination. And a lot of the other kinds of desires, even if they, seem good from the outside, like I want to have a clean house, or, they can fall apart sometimes. Well, I when my children were small, I have a little bit of an attention issue. And so I decided, well, I can't have a clean house and well children at the same time. So I voted for the children and I put my housework into second position. And it worked out okay. And those kinds of things are sometimes we have to make those kinds of decisions. Maybe I will put off having children so that I can have this career that feels really meaningful to me. Maybe I will put off being able to get a new car or being able to stay in the country of my origin because there is something more compelling to me that I really feel drawn to. And people take those kinds of steps all the time. And when we can live into those kinds of desires, we we make certain decisions and we take certain actions and we get really what people explain as joyful, interesting discoveries. And it's not just that, okay, I became a lawyer or it was like that was an interesting thing. Often, though, people find out the desire is it's got something else attached to the first one. So maybe they became a lawyer and they want to, work for climate rights or they want to help revamp the justice system. Or, there's different multi layers to those kinds of desires. Then, when we see about acting on them, then if we think it's a deeper desire and it hasn't diminished with our sort of examination towards it, then we can move into some acceptance about it. And I might accept that I have that desire. I might need to accept that I can't seem to move towards it right now. I might accept that this desire might not meet all the approval of everyone around me. There's lots to accept about what the desires are. But when I can do that, then I can say, okay, I don't know how to go forward about this, but it trains our brain to look for opportunities. And some people call this like the law of attraction or, different things. But it really, actually, if you put an idea in our head and say, okay, brain, this is a good plan. I'd like this. And we naturally start to look. Our brain is really efficient that way. It's like if I want to buy a new red car, my brain will notice every red car on the road. So it's a useful thing, this clarifying of my desires, because it helps me move forward to them, even without heavy conscious thought. I put the idea in and my brain starts working. And that is really about the dance of desire. We move towards it. We can feel if we're like grabbing it and clenching and that we got to loosen up a little bit and go with the flow. And sometimes we can get the next inspired step in really gentle, easy ways. And sometimes there's lots of disruption, but there's still the next thing if the desire still holds. And so it's not like I'm going to go home and make a perfect plan about how to get to my desire. 10 steps to any desire. You'll see books like that, but it doesn't usually go that way. It takes a winding route a lot of the time. And so it might just be, you're going to try something out once, or you're going to make a shift in your thinking, or you're going to just, take some other thing out of the way that might be blocking your path to a certain desire. So there's lots of small next steps. And when we are with our desire and sort of put the shame aside, because we can feel so ashamed, like maybe, somebody that gets in a relationship and it falls apart and they're like, oh, I wanted that. I feel so ashamed. I couldn't make that one work. Why should I go forward? They can still just have that desire. And maybe that first relationship that didn't work out was really good teaching for the next part of the path to move towards a relationship that they really desire and can hold with open heart that they wouldn't have had before if they had not had the first experience. So I'm going to just talk about a little bit about how to explore some desires and then invite people into a little meditation about it. But the first part really is, and when you're in that acceptance stage, about just taking a little time and sort of evolving the stories of what it would feel like and look like. Because you might go forward thinking, oh, I want this very nice car like this. And as you think through it, it's like, yeah, but it'd be really expensive to insure that car. Or, I couldn't put my camping equipment in the back of the sports car. And literally some practical kinds of things like that come up. And it may be that I think I'd like this really big house and on a hill and have it all be finished perfectly and stuff. But maybe I wouldn't want to do all the upkeep on a house like that. So the desires that will move through us, if we filter, we can come across the things we really want and need. And I always encourage people to write a little desire story about the next phase of their life, whatever phase of life they're in now, the next phase, what would they like? And my own includes things like having a home that my kids would like to come back to and visit, and making new friends as I age. There's lots of things that I desire like that. And so I just go into that and I open up and take the next step and look for the next opportunity and move forward in that way. So that idea, taking the time to do that kind of just, what do I want this part of my life to feel like and look like? And what are things that are more important? What will I put my resources towards? My time, my money, my interest, my energy. And then I really encourage people to do some meditation. And meditation is getting into an altered state of mind. And so if we can get into an altered state of mind and move the picture in there, there's the De Silva meditation methods. He has a picture that he literally, this is the picture over here and this is the picture over here. And he makes people sort of play it out on a screen in their mind as they go. And there's amazing stories out of that practice of meditation, and people discovering things they couldn't imagine that they actually wanted, and moving through the process of moving towards them with far more ease than they could have imagined, because they were clarified about what they wanted and what they didn't want. Yeah, that real feeling of, yes, this sits right for me. Or I feel like I'm a dog chasing a car. I'm not really sure why I'm doing it, but other dogs are doing it, so I'm doing it. And I can't really catch it, but I'll just keep running. And those things start to fall away. There's a practice from, I can't remember the woman's name right now, The Artist's Way book, Cameron is her name, and writing morning pages. And people just write 3 pages every morning. And a lot of people find interesting desires come up in that kind of process. But it's literally just sort of making some time and space for that, and being able to just say, okay, I can be in process with my desires. I don't have to make a goal list and I'll just go along and do this like this and check off all the boxes. If it feels really forced like that, it's probably not one of those deeper desires. It may be coming from all sorts of other places. One of the other things that I really encourage is to just notice if you're using a lot of distractions. And that can be anything, scrolling TV, and it can even be compulsively cleaning. And in those moments when you move into those distractions, just take a breath and slow down. And simple things like, I'm doing this, but is this really what I want to be doing right now? And it's a little fine tuning of your desires. And first of all, it's noticing that you're doing this thing that you're not entirely want to be doing. You're not invested in it in that way, but it feels like an urge. Because lots of times when we can't get what we want, we take what we can get. And lots of times that is, addictions and people pleasing and overworking and all sorts of things like that, just so that we can feel like we are moving towards something we want. So slowing down and breathing will do some real interesting change of view. It creates things that you start to notice. And if you can just accept them, it's like, wow, this actually feels more like a craving or a need or an addiction, not a deep desire. Like very few people are like, I can hardly wait to get home and binge watch TV. It's just not that heartfelt thing. It's more like, I have to go home and rest by watching binging. You know, that's what it looks like more. So we want to move through that. And I always encourage people too to try some things out. And they may try them out by, talking to somebody who has done them. They're like, oh, you went to Europe. How did that go? Did you like the change? Did you like living over there? Or nice car. Do you like the car? Is it comfortable? How talking to people about their relationship stories, all sorts of things. There's so much to be gained. We used to have elders we could go to, and they would talk about their experience in life. But often we don't have that so much anymore. So often we're looking to inanimate things like YouTubes and books and things like that. But actually talking to real life people can give us a feeling too, because we can see desire in someone else. When that desire is satisfied, when you meet somebody that has, their life's work has been being a gardener and they're thrilled about it, or someone who works in a seniors home and they love the work that they do. You can feel it with people as they talk to you about the kinds of things that they have desired or worked with to find out what they desire. And the last thing I'll mention that many people over the eons have done things to alter their perceptions to see what they really desire. And it might be fasting or using some sort of substance like peyote or ketamine or psilocybin or things like that, or just other practices like shamanic journeying or certain kinds of deep meditation to allow themselves to go beyond their limits about what they desire. And sometimes it's just to get past the expectations and shame and all sorts of things like that. And that's not, that it's not to say this is how you should do it, but it is one way that people do that. And they get a vision of some kind for themselves. So that is really the bulk of what I want to speak about. And I just want to share for a few minutes a meditation just to feel like that. So, what I will do is suggest that you either ask the question, what do I really desire? Or you think about something that you believe you desire and just open up to exploring that connection with whatever that is. Like I say, it could be a way that you want to feel. It could be a material thing. It could be something you want to do. And don't narrow it down. Keep it wide open. And just relax. And for people that are with me live, feel free to turn off your cameras or whatever you like there. And take that few first deep breath. It's like relaxing into your body relaxes your mind. It allows it to not put so many limits on it. And if you have a particular thing that you want to peruse about this, just bring that desire to mind, like you're watching it flow by on a river. You might see certain things come towards you. You might have certain feelings. Maybe you're just opening up to what you really deeply, truly desire. And again, you'll see a number of things flow past. Might look like a movie screen flickering. Or it might just be an actual flow of energy that you feel. And you might ask a question. It might be, what is the next part of the process to define my desires or to move towards a particular desire? And if you notice that your body is getting sort of stiff and difficult, just relax your body again. Because remember, we might have a lot of confusing things tied up with our desires. And one of the ways to move through them is to just keep relaxing your body. Just keep opening your mind. Because if we are fearful or ashamed or feel vulnerable, our focus narrows about what we will allow ourselves to desire. And lastly, just consider, is there something that might shift inside you to open the way for something you desire? And it could be something specific or just allowing you to desire things. Is there something you can shift inside you to allow that free flow of desire to come to you and through you? And as you come out of this, you might want to make a couple of notes. And I encourage people to do this repeatedly to see what comes up with. See if there's a whole bunch of different things, or maybe there's one common thing. It's really a process of getting to know yourself better. Okay. With the people with me live, just relax and we will commence discussion in a few moments. And those of you that are joining us by video later, thank you so much for tuning in. And please feel free to send requests or questions or comments or ideas for next words we could use in the Sangha to scientistsage@gmail.com. Because I am with you. You are with me. Blessed be.